this reality has got to be pretty tough for Oakland, that Seattle just has the edge on them this year. Because they're supposed to be the weathered playoff team. And remember, it wasn't too long ago that Cole Irvin, who, by the way, is on the hill for Oakland this afternoon, had this to say about a performance against the Mariners where he got shellacked.
Really, a team like that, I mean, there was a lot of weak contact and some swings that, ended up being hits. But I think at the end of the day, just pitch execution needs to be a lot better, and a team like that should not be putting up 10 hits against me or anyone. I mean, I'm extremely disappointed in my efforts tonight.
They did it again a little bit later, and you had A's manager Bob Melvin in the last series between these two teams after Trevino had a meltdown. He had another one last night on a Saturday night. It took an oddity for them to score a run. Oakland has no idea how this is happening. And this is, I think, my favorite part, in that the A's, whose fans I have no beef with, the A's are probably confused as to how they're going to be able to hold off Seattle at this point in time, and those other wild card teams. Because really, they are, based off of just about every single thing outside of vibe, gut, they're better. And yet, here we see this happening over and over again. And I love it. I love the reactions that the Mariners had to Cole Irvin, whether it was Tom Murphy. This was of the two that I preferred. Here's Tom responding to Cole Irvin.
Honestly, we don't even remember facing him. We came in today just like he was every other pitcher, and, we treated him just like we would a pitcher like that.
There we go. A pitcher like that. Kyle Seager, meanwhile, a different approach. Here's Kyle's response to Cole Irvin.
The pitcher said that?
Yeah.
I didn't even know we'd faced him before. So yeah, no, that's fine.
It's fantastic. He is on the hill for Oakland today, and Oakland, they're in the midst of a really tough stretch. And while I don't know if the Mariners are going to be able to punch a ticket and win the wild card, they're going to need some help, of course, from some of the teams in front of them. Oakland's given them that help, and Oakland does not have a very easy schedule ahead of them after this game that they play against the Mariners. So, Oakland's catchable. The most interesting stat that we've seen in the last 24 hours with the Seattle Mariners is one that we saw right before the start of the show. In 25 of Seattle's 126 games this season, the Mariners took the lead in their final at-bat to win the game. That's 20% almost of the games they've played this year. Only one team in American League history has had a higher percentage of their games end in a last at-bat victory. The 1918 Washington Senators, who I believe were also playing in a pandemic of sorts. And I actually know someone who played on that team. The great Walter Johnson, one of the best pitchers of all time. He had 400-plus wins. I mean, think about how often they were throwing those guys up on the hill. He pitched for 20 years. That's the last time that a team has been able to do this. But there's no Walter Johnson, at least yet, on this Mariners team. They don't have a Hall of Fame player, one of the best pitchers of their day. Paul Sewald's pitching awesome. And Ty France has been good. But it's really hard to fathom how they are better than a team like Oakland, but I think you have to say they are right now. We got some responses to this question. 710-710 on the Mac and Jack's Brewing Company text line. There are still 8 games left against Oakland to even up that 7-4 record. No doubt about it. But do you feel like Oakland has it in the bag? I look at Oakland, I look at Houston, I look at two totally different classes of baseball teams. Houston's, based off of what they did to Seattle, even if they are in the midst of a bit of a dry spell, that team is scary. Oakland, I look at them and I'm like, oh, I can do that. And I think that's how Seattle looks at them, and that's the only way you can. They have never really been that impressive to me. It's just a continuation, seemingly, of what the last 20 years have been for them, where they're going to field a competitive product, They're not going to invest enough in said product to actually give them names that terrify you. And some of the guys on that team that, a couple of years ago were pretty good, you're like, oh, what happened to him? They let Marcus Semien walk this offseason. What's his name? Was it Matt Chapman at third base, who has been a shell of himself this season? Text in 710-710. Are the Mariners better than the Oakland A's? They're not a better team from a macro perspective, but they do well against them head-to-head. That's all. Text in. This is from Brittany. I think you hit the nail on the head with the idea of matchups. Disagree that the M's are a better team. They're not a better team. They're just a pesky matchup for the A's. And maybe it's because of the bullpen. Oakland's bullpen clearly not looking so good. Seattle's bullpen, meanwhile, yeah, absolutely making it happen. And there's been a couple of times where Oakland has had Seattle, right, where you would think that they want them, and they just have puked it away. And it's weird because, again, that's the team that's been in the playoffs. That's the team that supposedly has the it factor, the experience, the veteran savvy. You don't see it, and that's why they're not that intimidating.